Rich Romano, how you doing today?
Hi, good morning. How are you, Billy? I'm doing great, thanks.
Well, I'm excited to talk with you about your career, your life, and the film The Investigator. Let's start with The Investigator. You wrote the screenplay for this. How did this come about, this project?
Well, I had a career in in the NYPD for 20 years as a police sergeant, and then I retired right after 911, and then I just, through a set of circumstances, which I believe God led me, I started teaching in a Christian high school, and then as the movie depicts, there was a crisis in there, and my brother Ray, I was in his world a little bit over the years, and I guess our parents gave me some creative ability too. He didn't steal it all. So I always wanted to be a writer. I actually took journalism in college, but I kind of followed my heart, and I wanted to be a police officer and help people. But I always had that in me, and I just said, you know what, maybe this would be a good story to tell. So I had never written a screenplay before, and I took a couple courses, read some books, got some input from my brother, read all his screenplays, and I put the real story to paper. And I think maybe hopefully it's doing what I wanted to do, just inspire people and you know just give them a different point of view of our faith, basically.
So there's a lot to unpack there. And your brother Ray Romano, who obviously comedian, actor, director, he's done a million things.
Yeah.
You guys, so you obviously have some of the same creative juices, but you ended up going into law enforcement and obviously education and lots of different things. What an interesting dynamic. He goes right into entertainment. You go into law enforcement. You guys must have interesting conversations, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we're only a year and a half apart. We shared the same room in a small house in Queens, New York. So we were very close. And he was always the life of the party, always, he's just a happy go lucky guy. And maybe I was a little bit more sober. I don't know. I guess we were different in that way. But, after he became famous, I always had a microphone put in my face. So, how do you feel about Raymond doing what he's doing, and he's making millions, and you're doing what you're doing? And I said, I love my job. He did what he loved, basically, and I did what I loved, and truly. And I guess that's the way the world goes around. That's the way God made us, all having a different desire and talents and ability to do things. So it just happened to be that way, that he did what he loved and I did what I loved. And it's funny how they kind of like almost on opposite ends there.
Yeah. But what a good word that you just said there about people. God makes everybody to do something different, right? We're not all made to do the same thing or to
Absolutely.
be the same way. And so that's incredible. Now you served for 2 decades in the NYPD. I want to get back to the film, but let's talk a little bit about that experience. What was that like? I know it's before you even answer it. I would imagine it's a difficult job. New York City is an interesting beast. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I mean, I was kind of like a naive kid, even though I grew up in Queens. It's not exactly the country, but when I got in there, I wasn't for a shock, and in the sense that just seeing the sometimes dark side of humanity and the sadness and the pain of people. It was an adjustment for me, and that kind of like was the theme of my movie, where um, I truly started doubting the existence of God. I said, how can God be here when all these innocent people just get hurt and whatever happens to them? And so it was depressing at times for me, and I struggled to keep my faith and my sanity. But I just, as far as the job itself, it's probably, you know, I didn't take the job for accolades from people because you're not going to get them. I just felt that like God was my boss, and I did whatever I thought He wanted me to do, and not worrying about whether I was recognized or whether people um, hated me. It's funny because that's how we got the name of Raymond's show, because I made a joke once telling him, yeah, I go to work, everybody hates me, but you go to work, everybody loves you when you tell your jokes. And he told the producer that story, and that's how they decided to name his show Everybody Loves Raymond. But
Wait, so
anyway, yeah, so I just,
wait
I'm
a
sorry?
minute. I have to stop you. That you were the impetus there for the title of that show.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he admits it. Yeah.
So he gives you credit for that.
Yeah,
That's
he
I had
does.
not
Yeah.
heard that. I had not heard that.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because after he told the producer that, and the producer said, "We're going to name the show that," he was very nervous about it because he thought it was too egotistical. No, no, I don't want it named Everybody Loves Raymond. And then the producer said, "Well, if you can come up with something better this summer, we'll use it." And he couldn't, so he used that name.
Oh, that's great. But getting back to the because I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
I had to dig into that. I mean, obviously, you're seeing the pain, the death, it's a hard job being a cop in general, being a cop in New York City, dealing as a detective, and all of that is challenging. How did you? And I know that the film, The Investigator, it's life imitating art, and you're exploring these things. But how did you find your way back? Because feeling that feeling of how could God allow this, that's such a common feeling that people have, and I would bet people listening or watching are experiencing that now, those challenges. How did you find your way back to realizing, okay, there is a God, and kind of healing?
Well, I felt like that. Growing up in a nice Catholic home, I went to Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, Catholic university, and we all believed, and without doubt, without question. And then when I became a young man, and then thrown into the NYPD, seeing all the lies of society, sometimes world can be one big lie with everything, the government. I mean, just and 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 I did question things, and I struggled. And I began reading, doing everything. I was reading the Bible and everything, but there was a point where, combined with what I saw in the NYPD, and then a couple of personal things that happened to me, the divorce and all that stuff, I kind of was like, I don't know, man. Maybe this is all not real. Maybe there isn't God, and it kind of manifested itself as you see the story in the movie. And I figured, you know what, I need to investigate this for myself. Um, and and I believe the Bible is the word of God, but I can't listen to what the Bible says because it's biased, because the writers believe in God. I need to see an unbiased um, investigation, an unbiased source of whether, and in this case, whether Jesus Christ lived. And in the movie, that's what I did, and I also did investigations on whether God existed, and I went to the science, and like, what are the odds of the universe starting without a creator, and all that stuff. Lee Strobel, the case for Christ, and the case a couple of them he wrote was a good inspiration for me, and I think that basically, using my intellect and the skills I got as a police investigator, circumstantial evidence and all that stuff, and I try to apply that to whether God existed, and whether Jesus existed, whether he even existed, and whether he rose from the dead or not. And so I think that um, that helped me to believe, to realize it wasn't like a fairy tale, and but it was a struggle for me. I mean, and you know. I had a lot of doubts, and my prayer to God is, I'm sorry I had those doubts, God, and maybe if I wasn't a police officer, I wouldn't have those doubts, but I was.
But you also wouldn't have made the movie or written on the topic probably. It's
That's
interesting because
true. Yeah.
right. I mean, you mentioned Lee Strobel, and the fact that I mean, who better to go on these investigations than detectives, cops, and journalists? Like the case of Lee Strobel, right?
Yeah.
These are the people who have the skills to investigate and to look, and you would have probably never done these
I would have
things
never
had
done
you
anything.
not
Yeah.
gone through it, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I was sitting in my car. I was weeping. I was just by myself, and because I was so despondent, and um, I was in the Christian high school, and I don't want to give away the movie to any of your viewers who haven't seen it yet, but I was asked the question by some students um, about Jesus Christ, and I couldn't give them an answer. And I didn't know the answer. I was teaching criminal justice in their school and their baseball coach and all that. And there was a crisis in the school. And then, even these young men and women in Christian schools, a lot of them have questions. They're put in those schools for different reasons. A lot of them still have questions. And the one kid, he said, "What's the deal with Jesus Christ? Is he real?" And I couldn't answer it because I didn't know. And I remember getting into my car, and it was just hit me. I was so despondent and sad because I didn't know the answer, and I had my doubts. And then I'm not going to say I heard a voice, but I felt something in that moment with God saying to me, "I am real, and you're going to do an investigation on it, and you're going to write a screenplay on it."
Oh wow! In
Yeah,
that moment, you
yeah.
were
And I remember saying, God, I'm not Raymond. I can't write a screenplay. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I don't know where to begin. I don't know what the story is. I don't know how to investigate. And he kind of like, again, I didn't hear a voice, but I kind of felt the answer that, well, I'm going to be with you, so you're going to be able to do it. And as for the story, I'm going to give you the story now. And that's what he did. And it was weird because I was writing the screenplay, and I didn't know what the ending was, because the ending was happening in real life in the school, and the investigation I did, and you know it was very inspirational. And I remember the director said to me once, "Boy, you wrote some intriguing characters here. You got some good creative ability." I go, "No, I don't. God gave me the story, and these are the characters that I came across. I didn't make them up."
That's awesome. And God's also like you realize, Rich, you also named one of the most, important TV shows in history. So you also came up with you can do this. You can, you can that's amazing. So I mean, you embark on it, you do it. Now the movie can be watched on Pure Flix, and I would encourage people to do that to check it out. But let me ask you this, and this is just my final question for you because I find this entire story so compelling. What do you hope now that you've done it? The film has been out there. What's your hope for the end result for the viewer?
My goal was always to um, tell people the story that I had of my doubt and my depression, despondency, and how I um, turned to God for peace and for help, and how the doubts that I had were alleviated by my 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 intellect, my quest to find the truth. The Bible does say, "Love God with all your heart and your mind." And your mind, and I don't think some people can have blind faith, and I really I respect those people, and I'm envious, but some people can't. I couldn't have the blind faith, and I needed to investigate this and use I love God with my mind. And so my goal was that the people, I know there's people in my position, and I just wanted to show them what I did, and that to show them that we can use our mind. It's not blind faith, that God does exist, and Jesus did rise from the dead. and so to give them some kind of hope and peace. I mean, who am I to give anybody anything? But if I can just retell my story, and maybe it could help those people too. And and hopefully, when they watch this movie, those people do get that message out of it. So I don't know.
No, I love that. I mean, that's how God uses us, right? He
Yeah,
uses us to help point people toward Him. And honestly, a lot of people are like you are. I tend to be that way. I like proof. I am a journalist. I've trained
yeah,
journalists.
right. Yeah,
So it's, for me, I want to know that there is evidence to back something up. And so I know a lot of people are that way. And I think you've given people through this film a chance to explore that in a really interesting way. And I appreciate your time coming on today to talk
awesome.
to us about
That
it.
was great. Yeah, yeah. If you notice again, I don't want to give anything away, but the end of the movie, I didn't want to preach and say this is what it is. The end of the movie kind of gives some direction, but investigate the matter for yourself. I mean, God does give us a mind, and He wants us to use it. And I don't think it's heresy to question things. I mean, I think that's what He wants us to do, and it'll strengthen our faith.
That's a great word. That's a great word to close on. I so appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, and I hope the viewers enjoy the movie.